Okay, everybody, greatest is reward. This is the third part of a multi-part series. Um, Once saved, always saved. Can't lose your salvation. So, what do I do about Romans 11:20 to 23? Um, you will then say, branches were broke off so that I might be grafted in. Verse 20, quite right. They were broken off for their unbelief, but you stand by faith. Do not be conceited, but fear. For God did not spare the natural branches, He will not spare you. God does not spare me because of my unbelief. What does that mean? What is it in context? So, is this saying to you, you can lose your salvation? Particularly if you're conceited, even if you have faith, you can lose your salvation by conceit. Or is this about national salvation for the nation? This is not about individual salvation, but national salvation. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people He chose for His inheritance. You can't turn this into a pretzel. You can't just take this one verse out of context. So holding fast, being broken off, those are national concerns. Those are about your lineage, your family. Uh, if you're a Gentile and you're feeling conceited, you feel, oh, look at these dumb Jews. They had the Messiah in their midst and they didn't worship him. Well, don't be conceited because your family could possibly not continue in your belief. And then where were you going to be with all your conceit? So read the top. You can go through Romans 11, 1 through 16. I'm just going to do 11 through 16. I say they did not stumble so that as to fall, did they? May it never be. But by their transgressions, salvation has come to the Gentiles to make them jealous. Now, if their transgression is riches for the world and their failure riches for the Gentiles, how much more will their fulfillment be? But I am speaking to you who are Gentile, as much then am as I am an apostle to the Gentiles, I magnify my ministry. If somehow I might move to jealousy my fellow countrymen to save some of them, for if their rejection is reconciliation to the world, what will their acceptance be, if not life from the dead? If the first piece of dough is holy, the whole lump is also. And if the root is holy, the branches are too. This is not is that talking about individuals or is that talking about the nation of Israel? So let's go past the disputed verse to verse 25 and down to 28. For I do not want you, brethren, to be uninformed of the mystery, so that you will not be wise in your own estimation, that the particular hardening of what has happened to Israel unto the fulfillment of the Gentiles has come in, and so all Israel will be saved. As it is written, the deliverer will come to Zion, he will remove the ungodliness from Jacob. This is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. From the standpoint of the gospel, they are enemies for your sake, but from the standpoint of God's choice, His choice, they are beloved in this for the sake of the fathers. Does that sound like individual salvation? That they're losing individual salvation, or is that a matter of nations? So if I'm inside the reservation of the saints instead of the preservation of the saints, I see Romans 11, 17 through to 2024 as individual salvation, but the surrounding context as national salvation. That's the only way that in the train of the apostles' thought, he broke off and went a couple of verses just talking about individual salvation with nothing to do with the statements about the nations as coming in to be saved. So this is dealing with Jewish rejection of Israel for a time. He's going to pick them back up. And the thought that he just relented on his promise to the patriarchs about the salvation coming through the Jews as it is now coming through the Gentiles and has been for the last 900 years. Did he break his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Like, absolutely not. Uh, their rejection is for the fulfillment to fulfill the Gentiles to come in. Now, I know what you're going to do. You're going to go to the next verse, verse Romans 11 through 29, and you're going to prove, oh, this is about individuals. Well, that would be a smart idea as it does talk about individuals, but you look at the verse. For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. You cannot revoke them. You don't have a choice in the matter. He calls you, he saves you, he glorifies you. He calls you, he justifies you. Those he justifies, he glorifies. If you believe in predestination, that is this, then you believe in assurance. You cannot have predestination without assurance. If he's the one that starts the thing, then he's the one that ends it. But what if I become conceited? What if I go to a life of sin? What if I become have unbelief? What if I pick your poison? Anyone have no fruit? What if I have no works? What if I become lawless and be without the law? Well, that's horrible for you. But he that started a thing finishes it. The calling is irrevocable. You don't have a choice in the matter when you were an enemy. You don't have a choice in the matter as a child. He does what he wants to do. This is Morgan McGee, Greatest is Reward. Um, if you want to go further than just these elementary teachings, if you want to learn more about the riches the Lord has for you in this world and the next world, please buy my book, Great Prosperity versus Austerity Doctrine, and stay tuned to this channel, Greatest is Reward. Subscribe and like. Thank you very much. God bless.